To 100 likes on this video, I'll do 10 things you didn't know about A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Now that's science.
Yes, science!
Tina's death scene is horrendous and incredibly creative, but how they achieved the effect is even crazier. The crew created a rotating room, nailing down all the furniture, enabling Amanda Weiss to move around the walls and ceiling. Unfortunately, the room disoriented her badly. Even when she wasn't on the set, she felt like the room was still spinning. For Glenn's death scene, the rotating room was used once again. This time, they turned the room upside down and blood flowed everywhere. Literally. 500 gallons of fake blood flooded the set, which got all over the wires, causing electrical issues, and even one crew member was electrocuted during the scene. Multiple events inspired Wes Craven to create A Nightmare on Elm Street. Here, I'll let him tell you.
The beginning of A Nightmare on Elm Street really came to me with a series of articles in the LA Times about young men who were dying in the middle of nightmares. They were specifically from the Asian Rim. In this particular case, a young man had a severe nightmare and told his parents, "I can't go back to sleep, I'm going to die, I just know it." And the father was a physician and said, "Let me give you some sleepy pills." The kid didn't sleep the first night, and then in the second night, he didn't sleep again, and then it became clear that he was trying to stay awake despite everything. And finally, the kid fell asleep, and they took him upstairs and put him to bed, thinking, thank God, that little crisis is over. And in the middle of the night, they heard screams and ran into the room, and he was thrashing on the bed horribly. Literally before they got to him, he fell still, and he was dead.
And just in case you're not feeling bad enough for this kid yet, keep watching.
In the aftermath, the parents found all the sleeping pills. He had not taken them, he had hidden them in the bed. And they also found a Mr. Coffee machine in his closet with a hidden extension cord that went to the nearest plug, which was, to me, it was just so out of a movie. What if there was somebody in his dream that was, who killed him, what killed him? I said, okay, so what if it's a guy? My old Bible training, the sins of the parents being visited on the children. I said, perfect, it's something the parents did to him, and just kind of pieced it together from there.
Craven was also inspired by some traumatic childhood events.
There was this incident of myself as a child lying in bed at night and heard this mumbling and couldn't figure out what the hell it was, so I crept to the window, and there was this man who, if you would say, oh, put Freddy down the street, that's what he would look like, Somehow he sensed that somebody was watching. He looked right up into my eyes. When I jumped back in the room and sat on the edge of the bed waiting for him to go away, when I went back and he was still there and he just went, and then he started walking. The thing that struck me most about that particular man was that he had a lot of malice in his face, and he also had this sort of sick sense of humor about how delightful it was to terrify a child.
And where does the name Freddy come from?
Fred Krueger, Mom. Fred Krueger.
It was the name of Wes's childhood bully. I hate bullies. Charlie Sheen auditioned for the role of Glenn and was almost hired, but he wanted too much money, and New Line Cinema couldn't afford him.
Charlie Sheen wanted the role, but he wanted $3,000 a week, and we didn't have it.
With Sheen out of the picture, how did they decide to cast Johnny Depp as Glenn? Easy. Wes Craven's daughter told the director that Depp was so dreamy that he must cast him.
My daughter said, Dad, Johnny Depp. I said, really? But he looks kind of sickly and pale. She says, he's beautiful. And that was it.
Freddy has been called a pizza face for many years, but few people know how close to the truth they actually are. Makeup effects artist David Miller was having pizza at a restaurant one night when he began playing with the pizza on his plate. He was shaping the cheese around the pepperoni and ended up making Freddy's face on the pizza, and the rest is history.
It's a boy!
The next fact comes with a bit of controversy. We know how fans reacted when someone else tried to take on the role of Freddy Krueger, besides Robert Englund. But what if Englund had never been cast as Krueger? Well, that's almost what happened. Actor David Warner, most known for his roles in Titanic, Star Trek, Tron, and In the Mouth of Madness, was originally cast as Freddy Krueger. As a matter of fact, makeup effects artists even tested some designs with the actor in mind. This image is a popular one among Nightmare fans, as they believe it's Warner himself in the makeup. It's been proven that it's not. And despite makeup effects artists claiming that Warner was in line for the role, the validity of this claim has been disputed by not only Bob Shaye and Wes Craven, but by Warner himself. He had this to say: "People have often asked me, well, why didn't you play Freddy Krueger? I honestly cannot remember being asked to play the character at all. I was very busy at the time and meeting a lot of people. So unless my agent got it and turned it down without my knowing it, which would be unethical, I don't really remember anything in my past regarding A Nightmare on Elm Street." Who do you believe? Was Warner the original Freddy Krueger? Leave your comment below and let me know. There's no disputing that Freddy Krueger's glove is not only iconic, but it's one of the scariest and most creative slasher weapons we've ever seen. That being said, it's a ruthless implement of pain, and that's even true for Krueger himself. The first time actor Robert Englund put the glove on, it cut him. Hey, you be good. New Line Cinema was so hard up for money that the printing lab wouldn't release the print of the film to the studio, because they hadn't been paid. Bob Shaye, founder of New Line Cinema, would even go as far as putting his house on the line to raise finances for the film, which cost $1.8 million to make. An amount of money the film would make back after its release in only 72 hours.
Bob Shaye had basically leveraged his ass off on the first one. He'd sold all the rights off to get the movie made.
Wes Craven wasn't the only legendary horror director on set. Sean Cunningham, that's right, the man who brought us the classic Friday the 13th, directed some scenes for A Nightmare on Elm Street. Actress Heather Langenkamp may have beat Freddy up pretty good at the end of A Nightmare on Elm Street, but she had to beat out over 200 actresses just to get the chance. The competition was stiff for the role of Nancy Thompson. Actresses who tried out include Jennifer Grey, Demi Moore, Courtney Cox, Tracy Gold, and Claudia Wells. I don't know about you, but I think Freddy would have looked great in a TalkHorror t-shirt. Make sure you click on that link in the description below and check out some of our awesome designs.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. You gonna take that dip?
The problem with Halloween is that it has so many scary scenes it's impossible to choose the scariest one. Some people may argue that the opening is the scariest part of the movie, following in the steps of a killer from their point of view as they lurk in the shadows, eventually pulling a butcher knife from a drawer, climbing the stairs, finding a young, naked woman brushing her hair right after she made love to her boyfriend, so you know she has the warm and fuzzies inside. So happy. And then, before she knows it, she's being attacked while calling out the intruder's name. Then we find out that it's not only the girl's brother, but he's a 6-year-old child. That moment is so shocking, and the audience is just as terrified and confused as the parents are in that moment. Someone could argue it's all the stalking of the high school girls, hiding in the bushes, cruising by in a car, lurking in the backyard. You could say it's when Michael shows up dressed as a ghost and Linda thinks it's her boyfriend. The audience knows it's not her boyfriend under that sheet, but poor Linda doesn't have a clue. And then it's even worse, because when he attacks her, she's on the phone with Lori. So, Lori, unbeknownst to her, just listened to her friend being murdered, and Michael picks up the phone just so he can hear Lori's voice. Another great scene, still not the scariest, is after Michael's been shot by Loomis and presumably killed. They go to look for his body only to find that he's not there. He's vanished into the night, and Lori comes to the realization that he is, in fact, the boogeyman.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, It was.
All right, let's talk some horror. Hey, what is going on out there, horror fam? I've got Michelle May with me today, our special guest. She's an actress in The Outwaters, which is a horror movie that just came out, what, a month ago maybe?
Yeah, February.
Yeah, and it had a limited theatrical run. It's on Screambox right now. And if you want to tell people a little bit about it, you can just give us a little synopsis.
Yeah, I love a good synopsis. So The Outwaters, it's an indie film. It's kind of an artistic take on like visual horror. However, the storyline is about 4 friends that go out into the desert. My character, Michelle, is filming a music video. And once they go out to the desert, some ominous things start happening. And it follows this journey of the characters, kind of a little bit of each of their backstory. And then what they go through together as a group. And without giving too much away, it gets gory, it gets hardcore. But the cinematography is beautiful. There's blood, there's gore. And yeah, it was a super fun project to be a part of.
Oh my God. Speaking of which, how I met you is actually a little bit weird here. So, you know, so I worked on a film set with your dad and your brother, actually. Well, you know, I'm scrolling through my Facebook one day and I see a girl covered in blood. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here? And I see it was posted from your dad and he's like, I'm so proud of my daughter. Like, dude, wait, what is this, man? What is going on? Because, like, I did not picture him as a horror dude whatsoever. Like, and
so great.
And then just to see that, like, so I was like, yeah. You know, hey, you gotta hook me up with your daughter, dude. Like, I run a horror YouTube channel. Let's hit it.
Yeah.
You know, but, and that's a question I wanted to ask you, like, well, number one, how cool was it to be able to go to a theater and see yourself up on the silver screen?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm just going to say, so The Outwaters has been like kind of in production for this past year. And Robbie, who made the film, is a good friend of mine. And I would like watch as he was editing it, like go to his house and watch it on the screen and stuff. But I hadn't seen it on the big screen until February, like when it came out in theaters. And everyone else in the movie had. And I was like, you know, doing interviews like, oh, it's really cool. Like, it's really beautiful. Like, yeah, it's a horror film, but whatever. Seeing it on the big screen, and my family came, my dad, my brother, like my mom came, and I was like, this is effing gnarly. Like, I was just like, this is insane. Like, to see on the big screen, it's way more, and I'm not even just saying this because I'm in it, like, way more of a visceral experience. Like, it was brutal, but I loved it, and I was like, this is so cool. And I was like, my poor parents are like watching me just like go through, I'm not gonna say what happens, but like, you know, I'm covered in blood, so you get the gist of it. And I'm like, this is so crazy, but that was the impact, you know? And I think anytime you see any movie on the big screen, it hits way different, you know, the sound and like the vision, and it's dark in the room. You're really able to like immerse yourself in the experience. So it was really cool. I felt all range of emotions, but mostly excitement and just like, yeah, this is hardcore.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How did you have anybody just like, you know, kind of like my reaction? I was like, whoa, what? I mean, it was like shocking to me to just scroll down through Facebook and see that. But like, did your friends or family or anybody just like flip out like, oh my God, what is going on here?
Yeah, so they kind of did some promotion with the movie too. Like Blair Witch Project, how they had the missing people's poster. So that was kind of circulating, I guess, on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram. I didn't know about it, but I was getting messages from people like, oh my God, Michelle, are you okay? Like, I saw that you were missing. And then they were like, and then I watched the video and it's like a movie and you're in a movie. Why are you covered in blood? And I'm just like, hey, like, yeah, I just did this movie. Like, I promoted it for sure, but it was cool to kind of see the natural progression of like, it just finding its way to people and like the algorithm and friends and family being like, holy shit, she's covered in blood and it's on my feed. And I think it's cool.
Oh my god, yeah, that would be super scary just to like see missing posters of your friends and stuff, and then like
Totally.
what? But I'm a sucker for some good viral marketing, you know, because like you said, the Blair Witch Project did it with the missing posters, the found footage, police reports, and all this stuff. But Cloverfield really got me.
I remember that movie.
Yeah, it really got me because they had like all the cast go and create MySpace pages or something like that at that time.
Whoa, MySpace. Throwback.
Yeah, right? And then they would have them like after the date that the movie took place, none of them logged in again, and it's like they actually did go missing. Like they had these real lives, and oh man.
Whoa. Yeah, see, that's like, I mean, that's a way to get people involved, and whether or not you find out it's real, it's hooking people's attention, you know?
Yeah.
I had that recently with a show that I was watching that came out, and it's on Amazon, but I like thought it was real. And then I was like, this is crazy. Like, how did I not know about this? And then come to find out it's fake. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you convinced me.
Yeah. Like, it's a good thing when it's fake, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can't help but feel cheated. I'm like, wait a minute.
A little bit.
Yeah, I was so invested in this. I thought they were, you know, I thought the demons
I thought you
were real.
died.
Yeah.
Exactly. I thought the demons had a MySpace. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat right now. I'd like to thank all of y'all for coming in. Once again, we're with actress Michelle May. And I'm telling you what, man, I have some questions here written out for you, and then we're going to talk a little bit of general horror goodness.
Love it.
So, would you say the Outwaters, would you consider that like Lovecraftian horror?
Interesting. I will say I'm, for one, not like a horror fan. So it's cool to be, I like it, but I'm not like gung-ho. Like, horror is not the genre that I seek out.
Yeah.
But this project specifically, it's like you have to be patient for the horror. Like, there's definitely scary elements throughout it, but in the beginning, it's really playing on like building your empathy for these characters and the emotions. And just like, it's not just some silly storyline, or like, you know, there's some horror where it's like cheesy and you just want to watch it to see the gore and crazy shit and CGI and whatever. This is like actually touching on emotion. So when these awful things start happening to the characters, I personally feel that people are going to be more concerned, or it's going to hurt a little bit more. Yeah. So it's scary and it's gory, but yeah, I guess Lovecraftian, I love that. It's going to touch on your emotions as well.
So, like, is it a thing, like, I know you said you don't specifically like seek out horror in your life and stuff like that. Is it like an energy thing? Because I've heard, like, my girlfriend will talk about that. She's like, you know, I just can't, you know, I'm someone who can sit around and watch it literally all day. It's what I put on when I'm sick or need soothing, but she's she's like, energetically, I just cannot do it. So is that like the same case with you, or? That's
hilarious. Your girlfriend and I would be friends, because I very much have said that when I was younger. So I do love like the supernatural and ghosts and UFOs, and I've always been into stuff like that. And when I was younger, I watched a lot of horror films, but now I'm at this place. It is an energy thing where I can watch it and I'm into it, but if I get too into it, it can start to mess with me, or I'll have nightmares. Like during COVID, I binge watched The Walking Dead, and I was like, this is such a good show. Like the character development, the CG, like not the CGI, the effects. Yeah. It was so good, and I was so into it, but I had like multiple zombie dreams, like to the point where I was like, okay, I should like, you know, I also binge watched like HLN, like the murder stories.
Oh, yeah,
what else were you gonna
do?
I love that stuff. And it was so interesting too, because it's got a science element where you're like learning about the forensics. And I was like, oh my God, same thing though. I'd have murder dreams. So I guess when I was a kid, I was just more immune to that. But now I'm like, I can't do as much of a dose as horror. Yeah. So that's where it's changed. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's her feelings. Like, she has no problems. Like when she does watch horror, she likes to watch the paranormal stuff or supernatural stuff, because she's like, that's stuff that, you know, it's not real people killing real people, you know. It's like,
yeah,
we can possibly say a prayer and expel the negative force here, but
oh, I love her.
So there you go. Well, I mean, me too, but
that's good, as you should.
So,
I think there's like a difference between watching something that's maybe almost like spiritual, because who knows what's beyond this world, and like ghosts or the supernatural. But when it comes to like, or even the serial killer shows, that is kind of hardcore sometimes. So I completely get where she's coming from.
Oh yeah. So, and you know, this is a question we're getting over here in the chat a little bit. Like, you know, since you're not calling horror, you know, into your life there, what genre is your favorite?
As like what I like to watch?
Yeah.
I kind of like everything, but if I were to say what I watch most often, I love like a really kind of complicated storyline. I also really love like nature-y movies. Like one of my favorite movies is Into the Wild. Like I love like the hero's journey. You know what I mean? So like, and things that kind of can relate to real life. But I will say a lot of like the big inspiring movies that I've seen in my lifetime that have always kind of like touched my soul is Into the Wild. And then Captain Fantastic is a really good movie. It's like, I don't have to dive into the storyline, but that's one of my favorites. And then recently a movie that I had never seen before is Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks, where that's like based on true events. And I was like, this is crazy, like this whole story. And I just think people that have lived out crazy experiences and got away with it, or like lived to tell the tale, like stuff like that is usually what I'm drawn to.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. So I'm totally going to have to just send my girlfriend to you. You can have her now. That's where she would be happiest. I'm convinced now. Like, because she's over here in the chat. She's like, Into the Wild is so beautiful. Soundtrack by Eddie Vedder. Yeah.
Yes. And I love Eddie Vedder. I mean,
that's it. That sealed it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's her favorite. Pearl Jam is her favorite band. She like has won their contests and stuff to go see them in Norway. And
oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah, and she's a Cali girl. So
okay,
you know,
cool.
I'd have to send her back home.
Job,
I guess.
Steven.
Yeah, no doubt, right? I talked her into coming out to West Virginia. Who's the real winner in this chat?
I mean, yeah, she must really love you, right?
Yeah, no doubt. So,
oh, cool.
Like, is acting something you've always wanted to do, or were you just like helping out a friend? What was the deal with that?
Okay, so this is a funny story, just talking about things that like pull you in life. When I was younger, obviously my dad's in the movie industry, but I acted a bit when I was younger. I did a couple of projects and commercials. And when I got into like high school, I wanted to take a break and kind of just be a kid and not, you know, have to always be going on auditions or like not having a social life. So I stopped doing it. End of high school, I decided I wanted to jump back into it. And I was going to college. I was getting my theater degree. And then I started acting again. I got an agent and I did a project, and I kind of had that same thing where I was like, I don't know if I do want to do this, like just kind of the back and forth. And then I started working for Greenpeace, like in my early 20s. And that's actually where I met Robbie. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to act anymore. I want to like be an activist. And then I met Robbie through there, and then cut to, you know, this is 10 years ago. We've been friends for this long. And then a year and a half ago, he asked me if I wanted to be in this movie. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like I would love to make art with my friends. Like as much as acting, I was always kind of flip-floppity about. I think it's really fun to make music or art or movies and just, you know, make art with your friends. And so it's hilarious to me that I kept like pulling back, and then sure enough, like this project has blown up, and it's via Robbie, who I met through Greenpeace after quitting acting. So it's weird how things happen and how life unfolds, you know?
Yeah, that is like total fate right there, you know?
Yeah.
And there's
crazy.
and it had to be devastating, to go get your theater degree or whatnot, and then just have that question like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
I've totally done the same thing. Go to college, and then you're like, wait a minute, this is what it's really going to be like?
100%. Yeah. And I don't knock anybody for getting their degree. I admire them a lot because of the work and the money you put into it. And there is a lot of jobs where you can have that entry level, or like you have a degree and you're qualified, but that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, why do I need to get a degree if like I have an agent and now I'm working? And it's just, who knows? Yeah. I feel like if things are going to pull you back in, they're going to pull you back in. Like life just happens that way, at least in my experience. So
yeah. And I totally get your point. It's like for something like film specifically, it's like you can learn all the technical stuff on YouTube or Masterclass or something now. So 100%. It's like, but you can nurture creativity, but you can't learn it really. So
yes, love that.
So I mean, it's like, and two, if you go to film school, then you're making movies like everybody else who, so it's like,
yes,
just follow your dreams. And like you said, man, and as we see, like sometimes fate steps in.
You hear that, everyone? Follow your dreams. I seriously agree. I agree with that because I have so many friends and even people who don't have the resources to go to college or get a degree, and they're like, well, I'm going to go to the library and open a book, or like you said, watch some tutorials on YouTube. And it's amazing if you have determination, what you can do with that.
Yeah. It's like that quote I've heard before, like, if you know your why, then you will figure out your how.
I love that. You got good quotes, Steven.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's our good buddy Tony Robbins right there.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, well, and then you were talking about expressing yourself creatively in other avenues. That's actually my next question here. Did you do your own singing in the film?
I did, yeah. So a fun little note about that. I used to do musical theater as well when I was younger, and I love singing. I also play guitar. I play bass. And it's funny because Robbie, when he asked me to be in it, he was like, you can sing, right? And it was something that I was really into when I was younger. And then it I would just do it here and there, but it wasn't as much of a big part of my life. But doing this movie, it like reignited that kind of musical bone in my body. And so now I'm doing it more. But I did sing That's Me, and I loved it. It was so fun. And I love folk music, genuinely. So that was cool that I was a folk singer.
Oh my God, that's cool. Like, your family is just loaded with creative people because on set, I talked with your brother about guitar and his band like every day.
Yeah.
And I follow him on Instagram, and he's always like pumping out some jams and just getting it in. So it's wild.
Yeah, he's amazing. And it was funny when you were talking about people learning skills via YouTube. He actually learned how to sound mix just watching YouTube tutorials, and he's like really good at it now. So it's cool. Like everyone in my family I'm lucky that they nurtured that creativity, and they weren't like, no, you have to be an accountant or a lawyer. They were like, no, follow your dreams. So I feel very lucky in that way. Yeah,
no doubt. And like, I could totally picture that from your dad with just a little bit of time I had. Like, I don't know, man. He walks around, I would describe him as Bill Murray. Like, he was just so cool, had like that dry sense of humor, and just totally chill. Because, you had other people on the set like, oh man, this is bullshit. It's so hot out here. This sucks. And then every time you'd yell at Michael, like, hey, Michael, you ready to get this camera rolling? Yes.
I can't wait till he watches this interview, because that's exactly the yes. Literally. Yeah. And I love my dad. I mean, I've worked with him on the set too, actually, because I've done some behind the scenes camera stuff. But he's so funny, and a lot of people say he's like the dude. Like, I call him the dad. But he's just very chill. He wears like Ugg boots and shorts or whatever, flip-flops in the wintertime. Like, he's very much this like laid back Cali guy, and he's super fun. And I'm so glad that you know him. I think that's so funny.
Yeah, I can still hear his voice like, are you ready to get this shot? Shan't we? It's like, yes, like,
Oh my god. It's great. Shan't. We shan't.
Oh my god. Let's see here. So, was it like disturbing for you when you went back and saw yourself in this film, and like, do you kind of go back to that same mind space as you were at that time, or?
Well, so if you guys have seen the movie, and for you, Steven, you've seen it, the scenes where I'm like covered in blood in the desert running, that was like a moment where I had to kind of tap into being really afraid, like being chased by someone who's basically trying to kill you. And I think with acting, it's like you kind of, they say to touch on things that have happened to you in real life to kind of pull from that place and have it be authentic. Majority of the filming was really fun and we had a great time. But yeah, there were moments that, and the part where I'm crying in the dark, like for my mom, where Robbie was like, I want you to really, like, you're really afraid, like you really want your mom and you're like, you need someone, and just let it fucking go, basically, like really let it out. And doing that, it was intense. Like I felt like I was going to cry afterwards because it felt so real. You start to get into it so much that it feels really real. So after the fact, the covered in blood running and that scene specifically, I remember just being like, whew, I got to take like a breather and like decompress for a moment. And then watching it on the big screen, I was like, holy, like this really, it translated like what I was feeling, and it feels real. And I know that I've gotten feedback about that as far as like people like, that was so crazy. And my mom, she was like, oh my God, like watching you like scream for me. And she was like, it was amazing, but like, oh my God, like my mother instincts. I was like, no, I can imagine. Like, I'm glad it, is convincing. So.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. That would be so creepy. Like, especially for a parent, man, like, whew.
Totally. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. So like to get into those emotional headspaces, was there anything you had to do, or like, what was your go-to thing that you would think about?
Well, this is a little bit sad, but I mean, I'm like an emotional person, but, I had something, my dog had passed away during COVID and it was really tragic. He drowned and
oh my
it was
God,
like,
I'm so sorry.
Really, it's okay. Yeah. It was a rough thing. It's funny. My other dog is right here and now he's getting up. Like, are you good? I'm good, Petey. But
oh, basically, I love him.
He's so sweet. But yeah, he drowned and it was like really tragic. And just like when something happens that you're not prepared for, it can be a shock to the system. And that was kind of what I would think about. I've had some other experiences in life that were difficult, but when you're trying to channel something for acting, it's not just like, oh, this was really sad and depressing and now I'm falling into depression. It's like you think about that and then maybe you're like reminiscing on the love you had for your pet or a relationship or someone that you lost. And for me, it's like it's sadness, but it's also like, okay, like an acceptance. But the fear aspects of running through the desert, I didn't think about my dog then, but like when he's asking me about my mother, who in the film has passed away, that was kind of what I would touch on, and my eyes were watering. And acting is interesting because it does make you kind of like dive into things that maybe you don't want to think about, but it can also be cathartic, because you're like, oh, I don't want to think about this, but pushing something down and away doesn't make it go away. It's like humans aren't trash compactors. Like you have to kind of deal with it. So anyway.
yeah. Oh my God. And I could only imagine like how stressful that would be, because it's like when you if I remember this correctly, they've done studies where like if you recall a memory that's painful, or if you have like a bad dream or something like that is just as stressful for your body as if it was actually happening to you right now. So
100%. Yeah, I have this really cool book that I've been reading. It's called The Body Keeps the Score, but it talks about like what you just said, how things that happen and our mental thoughts about it, we can store it in our body physically. And kind of that same thing, and like the counter of that is visualizing what you want in life. Like if you can visualize your dream life or you really want something, your body, the more that you give your energy and attention to it, your body thinks it's real. It really doesn't know the difference. So that's a whole other conversation, but it's, the power of the mind. It's a real thing.
Oh
and the book. Yeah, great book.
Yeah,
Good
here's my girlfriend again. Like, amazing. Oh my God. It's like I'm interviewing her. It's
yeah.
But, you know, I totally agree with you because, like, I've done that ever since I was a kid. Like, if I had to speak in front of my classroom or do a spelling bee or even stuff like playing a video game or guitar, like, I would visualize it in my mind.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the next day I'm better at it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I was actually practicing when I'm actually just laying in bed about to fall asleep, you know, and
totally.
And you know, that is, I've heard that before. My mom used to say that all the time about storing things in your body. She would always say her stress stored itself in her back. Yeah,
that's a real thing. It's interesting too, because when you're stressed, sometimes people, they like shrug their shoulders or they tense their neck. And some people just aren't even aware of that. I do yoga a lot. I'm also a yoga teacher, but it's so interesting because even though I do it every day, I notice times like if something in my life is stressful or I'm starting to feel upset, I notice where I'm tensing in my body and I consciously am like, okay, like breathe into it. But yeah, if you're not aware of it, you can mess yourself up. And so... yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so side note here. How long, when did you start yoga?
I started, the first yoga class I ever took, I was 18. I had just graduated high school, and it totally changed my life. I took it, and by the end of it, I was like crying. I was like, oh my, I'm so healed, and like, I need to do this every day. And I basically started practicing consistently. And then I got my yoga teacher training in 2019 in June, like before COVID. And I just started teaching like officially, not just private lessons, like in studios, July of last year. And I love it. It's definitely like a main calling in my life. So
dang, that is cool. I was wondering because my girlfriend, go figure, has, started me on this yoga regimen.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I can see some benefits from it so far, like physically, being more limber and stuff and being able to go deeper. I was wondering how long before you were like, oh my God, this is badass. Like,
yeah. Sorry, my dog's whining next to me. You're okay, Pete. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but okay. So I kind of went back and forth with yoga. So when I first started doing it, like early 20s, I was just doing it through YouTube, actually. I was just watching YouTube videos or classes, and I would wake up every morning, I would meditate, I would do my yoga. And I was like, this is hilarious because I was in my early 20s, but I was like, not a big drinker, not a big partier, was very much living this like pure kind of lifestyle. And yoga was just so healing at that time. And I felt really strong, really flexible. But the big thing is consistency. So I was doing that for a while, for about a year and a half. And then I kind of fell off the wagon. Like I would do it here and there, maybe 2 times a week. But now that I'm teaching and I've been not only doing the flow with my students, but like guiding them through it every single day for 6 months, I feel so strong. I feel so grounded. I teach in the morning. So it's like whatever BS is going to happen throughout the day, most of the time there's not any. But I always am just like, I'm good. Like I took time this morning for myself. Like I focused on my breathing. Like the rest of it is just jibber jabber. Like the main thing is like feeling good in yourself, and then you can go out into your life and feel good. So I would say mentally, physically, spiritually, it's just, I feel strong. And I like highly recommend yoga, not just for the movement aspect, but just for like feeling calm and peaceful.
Oh man, so see, you're at that point right now. I'm still at the stage where like I have to concentrate, like, oh.
Yeah. But you're doing it, and that's awesome, you know.
Yeah. She has us on like breathing through the poses, And
Yeah.
like she started me off, she's like, okay, just hold this for 8 breaths. And like her 8 breaths and mine are vastly different. I'm over there huffing and puffing, like trying to I can cheat this if I try really hard, but
yeah, if I use my mind, I can make the breaths go quicker. Yeah. I get it. But you're showing up, and that's what's cool is like the longer that you stick with it, things will get easier. And then, you can challenge yourself more, but good for you. That's so awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, I was just wanting to, get it from somebody else because my girlfriend will be like, oh, no, babe, you're going to see benefits immediately. This feels so great. And she's right. Like, there's some stretches I'm like, oh, man, that feels great. And some,
totally.
And some I'm like, oh, damn.
Yeah. That's where I've stored my trauma, right there in my hip. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a bowling ball, like a bowling pin, like I'm just going to tip over. And,
oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Okay, so we'll get back in. Everybody's laughing at me over here. Oh, my God. Thanks, guys. Yeah. What was it like? Like, what was the struggles of shooting in the Cali desert, man? Like, we see sandstorms and everything in the movie, and I can only imagine how hot it was and that sticky blood all over you.
Oh my gosh. It was an experience. So we kind of shot in all of the seasons, except winter. The outside stuff wasn't in the winter, but I am a Cali girl, and I'm also one of those people where I would rather it be brutally hot than cold. Like, I'm cold when it's 50 degrees. I'm like, God, how do you guys live in the winter, So it was hot, but it wasn't as bad. I think for some of the other of like my castmates it was, but we had some interesting like element things happen. So Robbie and Ange, they kind of got not followed, but there was a swarm of bees outside the tent when they were shooting because of the water, because it was so dry there. And then one of the days that we were shooting, it was so windy, and like it was super hot in the day, and then as the sun was going down, it was really cold, and it made for some beautiful shots. But I was like, oh my God, this is like so intense. And Robbie's like, use it, use the emotion. I'm like, okay. But I got really tan, like covered in blood running through the desert. We literally brought an inflatable pool and like filled it up with gallons of water after, and like, had a little drink afterwards after filming. But it was hot and it was windy and dusty, but it made for some beautiful shots. So it was totally worth it.
Oh yeah. Did the fire ants attack anyone?
I don't think so. Not me, not to my knowledge, anyone else. But that's a cool shot, right? The ants.
Yeah.
Those are the ones you're talking about.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. Like, run from that, man. That's the real horror of the movie, those little bastards.
Yeah, that's the sequel, the Outwaters 2, Fire Ants.
Yeah, hell yeah. Dude, be careful. The asylum will pick that up and we'll have like Ant NATO or something,
That's hilarious.
Oh my God, yeah, we have people over here in the chat talking about, we have fellow Californians over here, like anything below 70 and I'm done.
I'm with you guys. I went to Montana for Christmas to visit my brother, and it was negative 26, and he lives in a beautiful town, but it's like really small town. And then driving back, I was with my other brother, and I said to him, I was like, yeah, I get why California is so populated. Like, I get it. We have the beach and the mountains, and it's, most of the time 70, not negative 26. But sorry, guys, I'm typical Cali girl.
Oh, man. Hey, we had my girlfriend's family out here in October, I believe it was, and we've had a really, really weird winter.
Yeah.
But, it snowed, oddly enough, and I mean, they were, her stepdad was fine with it, or seemed to be, but her mom, she wasn't having it. She's like, oh my God, this sucks. Like,
I have respect for people that live in cold, wet climates.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's definitely different. So do you have a favorite part of the Outwaters?
Ooh, okay. Yes, I do. So upon seeing it on the big screen, my favorite part is right before the stuff starts to go down. So when Robbie is filming my music video and there's no audio, it's just kind of that like heartbeat and ominous, like, I don't even know what it is, sound, and the sun is going down. Like, the fact that he captured that where the sky is like an Easter egg and the silhouettes of all of us looking out at the mountain and the wind blowing, like, seeing that on the big screen, I was just like, oh my God, like, this is so beautiful. And that feeling of like, oh, you know, something's coming. It was so gnarly to see. So that's officially my favorite part of the whole movie.
Nice. Yeah. Well, here's one for you. How was the, I guess they're stars. How was that like sequence filmed or captured? Like, did he do some visual effects there, or what happened?
You mean the stars at night when he captured?
Like, it's almost like he's traveling through stars at one point.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. Yeah. I have no idea how Robbie did it. Even me, who's in the movie, because people were asking too about like the snake and the guts. Like, how did you do it? What did you use? Because, you know, it's an indie film. It was like a small budget and Robbie did a lot of the stuff. I actually don't know how he did the lights. I'm assuming he was using like a dark room or maybe just his apartment, but that part feels really beautiful because he's going from like the really intense, like brutal, bloody stuff to like almost this, it felt like heavenly when you see those lights. It's like you're getting pulled out of the suffering. That was another part that I really liked. And to come back to your question, I don't know how he did it. Maybe he'll tell us.
Yeah, hope so. Yeah. I totally agree with you. Like, there's some really gory moments, but there's also some like serene moments where it's like, hey, life is beautiful too, or can be, you know.
Totally.
But yeah. That, you know, just some of the effects used in there, like you said, like that sound that he used, and it was like, you know, you would hear that, and then there was this visual effects where it was almost like he was being birthed somehow.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything, but
just watch it if you haven't seen it. And I love to hear people's interpretations of what they think is going on. And that's the cool thing about projects like this. It is art, and I think it's meant to be kind of experienced in your own way. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, because there's so many different ways you could interpret it. I mean, we do have what some would consider a slasher, but then we have like Lovecraftian stuff where like things are so crazy just seeing them are indescribable and could potentially drive you mad. And then like we said, we have serene stuff that makes you feel warm and fuzzy. So it's you know, it's interesting to see what different people would come up with on that.
Totally. And there's a lot of different emotions throughout the film. I could keep tangenting, but I'll let you ask the question.
Well, you're my guest. You feel free. You know.
I guess just seeing it on the big screen, like I felt that exact way. I was like, God, I'm just feeling so many different things, and especially when it gets towards the end, towards the gory part, I was like, you can feel that people are really suffering through the horror aspects, but then, like you said, it ties in with that serene, and then that light thing happens. So it's just cool. It's really cool, and I suggest if people can see it on the big screen or a big screen to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, it'd definitely put you right. You would, cause it is found footage, so it's like point of view. So it would do a good job of putting you in our protagonist's shoes.
Right.
So when you saw that on the big screen and everything, did that kind of like solidify it for you? Did you have a moment like, oh my God, this is it. I want to be an actress now.
I mean, so I kind of go into everything in my life with the attitude of, if this is meant to be, it will be. And some may say that's like flippant or not disciplined or whatever, but it's like I said with Robbie, like I wasn't trying to be an actress and then it happened through a completely different avenue. I am kind of diving back into acting just because I live in LA, and after doing this project, it did kind of reignite that love for making films and diving into that creative kind of storytelling. So as of now, I am planning on doing it. We'll see how it goes. If another horror movie, comes along, I'll be sure to like keep you in the loop. But Yeah, I just think right now it is feeling like I should keep acting. So I'm rolling with it.
So if he came, if Robbie approached you right now, was like, look, I want to do the Outwaters too. I need you to be in it. We're filming in a week from now. Would you say yes?
Yes.
Damn. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're down with it. I like that. You're a gamer. You're a trooper.
Down. Yeah.
And I see people asking where they can watch it. It's on, the Outwaters is on Screambox, which is Bloody Disgusting's streaming service. And I think it's like $7 a month, but there are free trials out there you can snag. I think you can get a 30-day free trial. So
nice. I see this comment. What's her favorite horror movie? Sorry, I haven't been looking at the questions, but can I answer that, Steven?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, my favorite horror movie is the Amityville Horror, because it's just like, it's messed up. Yeah, so, and it's like, it's obviously different because it has like the ghost and demonic elements. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I remember watching it. I've seen the old one and the remake, and both of them I was like, holy shit. So
yeah. For sure. So what do you think on the Amityville? Do you think it was real or a hoax?
I don't know. I've heard some crazy stories about the paranormal, and I think, call me crazy, but I think that there's a lot that we don't know or understand, and the veil is thin. I will say that, like, people can kind of take things and make them extreme to, sell a story or a movie. But I do think elements of that were real. I mean, there's places that I've been to that were haunted. What's the place in San Jose? It's like a giant mansion. I went there with my mom. They like do ghost tours there. But speaking on energy, it's like you can go to a place and feel that there's like a dark, kind of heavy energy. So I think some of it's real. Yeah. I'm sure they dramatized some of it to make the movie, but that's probably why it scared me so much. I was like, this feels, ugh.
Oh my God. So
yeah, and humans have done messed up stuff to each other so I think there's just energy in the land and houses and history and stuff like that.
Yeah, so was it the Winchester House?
Yes, the Winchester Mystery House. Oh my
God. Okay, yeah. So that's on my list of places to visit one day. That is gotta be super spooky.
It was weird. I'm not gonna lie. Like, we were doing the tour and I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to leave. Like, and you kind of have to like shake it off after, because it's, I think places hold energy too,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm into the whole paranormal thing, and out there, I've been to the Whaley House, if you're familiar with that.
That sounds so familiar.
Yeah, it's in San Diego.
I went to that one too. I was going to say, that was when I was like 18 in high school, and this is crazy. I wish I still had this phone, but I took a picture. They were saying if you take pictures, sometimes you can capture things, but I'm not kidding, guys. Cross my heart. I took this photo and I showed it to my boyfriend at the time, who's not into the supernatural or ghosts. And I was like, Dylan, like, look at this photo. That is a ghost. And when you zoomed in by the bed, it's going to make my eyes water thinking about it. It was like this really scary woman's face. Like, she was screaming, and it was like she was being pulled. And I was like, oh my God. So I don't have that photo anymore, but it was like, it gives me chills thinking about it.
Yeah, they that was at the top of the stairs, right? And you could look into the room. Yeah, because that's when they told us. They were like, and they even showed us evidence. They're like, every couple of months somebody's going to catch something, specifically up here. Yeah. So take all your pictures here, like. Yeah. And what the hell is up with that? Because I've had paranormal experiences and like, I've sat around and recalled them with other people. What is up with that? With your eyes watering when like
it's real,
Yeah, it's like...
I've had some things happen in my life. Like, I've seen a couple things which I think were ghosts. But whether I'm telling the story or if someone's telling me a story, either my eyes water or I'll get chills, because it's like, I think that's kind of that confirmation that it's real. Or I see you guys in the comments. It was like, phew. scary.
Yeah, I've done the same thing, sat around with people and all of a sudden my eyes are watering. I'm like, what? But you're not crying. It's just, it's so emotional or something. And it's like, you said, you started it off with, please don't think I'm crazy or whatever. And that's kind of what sucks about it, is because like you get so emotional about it because it is real and some people don't believe you.
Yeah. I'm at a point where I just don't care if people believe me or not. And there's enough people. I mean, I think in the Western world too, death is like some taboo thing, which in other countries, it's very much like a part of life. I mean, it is. It's literally birth and death are the two things. But as far as like the supernatural and spirits, I've always been into that as a kid. And the more that I kind of just speak that truth, most people are like, oh, I've had that too. Like, it's more common than you would think,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And, it's like I've told people before, I'm like, have an open mind. If somebody's bullshitting you, you'll be able to tell, because I've clearly had those experiences with people, but sometimes,
like Ghost Hunters. Did you ever watch Ghost Hunters?
Oh my God, yes.
You like wanted it to be real, but you're like, I don't know, it feels like a reality TV show. It's too.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Oh my God. But yeah, and you talking about the feelings when you walk into a place that has like that energy left behind, dude. I absolutely had that at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Oh God.
Yes. I literally got sick, which is,
I believe it. Yeah. Mental asylums, like that's a more extreme level for me. Like there's an abandoned mental hospital somewhere in LA, and I know people go there and they like break in and whatever, but that to me feels, I'm like, I don't know, just because too, that a lot of mental asylums, like back in the day, they did a lot of messed up stuff to cure people, whether it was like electric shock or just like really brutal traumatic things. And that's almost more, that's scarier than like seeing a ghost, like the stuff that humans would do to each other, in my opinion. So, I would imagine that would have been like an intense experience.
Oh my God. Yeah, it has. And, you might be able to have had this experience too. It's like as soon as you pull onto the property in your vehicle, you can feel the energy just change. It's like overwhelming.
Yeah, totally.
Super weird. Let's see here. Okay, what was the worst part of the filmmaking experience for you? Was it the cold, or? So I know you touched on that.
Yeah. Okay. Worst part. So the day that we filmed the me running bloody twice through the desert. The first time we had filmed that, that morning, I like wasn't feeling very good. Like I was kind of feeling nauseous all day. And I was like really just kind of tired and felt drained. But I had to like run, in the desert, and it was really hot. And just like physically, my body was like, I don't want to do that. But I think it kind of worked well because it was like me struggling to run away. And literally it felt like a struggle, like getting up. It was weird. I don't know if I got like a stomach bug or something, but like struggling to run. And I kind of had a headache, and like my head was just it felt like I had a heartbeat in my head. But then we ended up going back to where we were staying, where we were shooting. And there was like a body of water there that I could jump in, and that kind of rejuvenated me. But yeah, I felt really just out of it, to be honest. But there was no like bad experiences other than that one physical thing. Most of it was just absolutely amazing. But yeah, worst part.
Dang. Okay. Well, I mean, you never know though. Like your character was going through a lot of turmoil at the time, and maybe.
Yeah, and I got so invested in the role that it made me nauseous. So.
Yeah, I actually, oddly enough, watched a video yesterday because I'm working on a new video for Halloween Ends, and Jamie Lee Curtis was talking about. Now this is super strange. She was like, one day after filming, her face hurt, and she was like, I cannot figure out why my face would hurt right now. What the hell is going on? Yeah. And then it came to her in the movie she was filming Halloween Ends, her character smiled, and her character never gets the chance to smile. And she's like, I smile all the time, you know, but my character smiling hurt my face.
Whoa.
Yeah, so...
Power of the mind, once again.
Hell yeah, man. Channeling that spirit, huh?
Yeah. Totally. I want to see that. I want to see Halloween Ends.
Oh my goodness. Have you seen any from the new trilogy?
I haven't seen any from the new one, but I've seen the first one, so...
Oh, okay. Well, you've seen the best.
Yeah. I gotta binge watch it, though. I'll take an evening to dive in.
Actually, I'll take that back, because my fans will call me out. I like Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, the best.
Right on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So, here's a question for you. What would you do or be if nothing stood in your way? Money's not a problem, education's not a problem. What would you do or be? I mean, you could be an astronaut, an MMA fighter, literally anything.
Oh my God. Well, just to answer part of that, I try to live my life as if that's the reality, because I think it removes obstacles and then you're not worrying. But there's 3 callings that I have in my life. So I really... teaching yoga and being able to travel the world and teach retreats, because yoga was so healing for me. I want other people to have that. But also, I love music. I love going to music festivals, and I would love to be able to teach at music festivals. I'm also, I told you guys I play bass, but actually with CJ, but I would love to get really good at bass and then be in a band. And then also... my dream is to just own a big piece of land and kind of have like a space where people can come and do like healing retreats. I want to grow my own food, just have a big space, not like a commune, but just where people can come and like hang out. I can have concerts. Like I can just kind of be self-sufficient. And then as far as acting goes, I really don't care about being famous. That's not a goal for me. But it would be fun to just keep making projects until I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah, and those are like my 3 main things. I also kind of dabble in photography. It's not getting as much energy as I would like to give it, but there's a lot of passions that I have, so I'm trying to like equally give them all my attention. But yeah, that's being in a band, maybe being an actress, and then traveling the world teaching yoga.
Oh my God. Okay. So you totally want to help people and evoke emotion. You know, and travel.
Yes. Yes, I love traveling, yeah.
That is really cool. Okay, yeah, I've got you. Okay, and folks, you know, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them out there. We'll get to them. We're going to start winding down. I only have Michelle for 8 more minutes, so seize the day.
Yeah. What do they call it? Fire round or...
yeah.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Words. Yeah.
Yeah, words. They're a thing. They are a thing, in fact.
They are, yeah.
Okay, so if you could go back and be in any movie of all time, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
Yeah, right?
Okay, well, I'll give you guys 2 movies. The first one, which is one of my favorite movies, is Almost Famous. The music in it is like incredible. I love the story. If you guys haven't seen it, it's like based on this like young journalist that like basically traveled with like Led Zeppelin and went on this adventure as like a kid. And I think the 60s and 70s was like the best time for music, in my opinion. But I think it would be cool to be in that movie, or like, I mean, Penny Lane, like just the outfits that she wore. And getting to hook up with whoever that guy was, the guitarist in it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, and then another movie, so It's a Wonderful Life, which is like such a classic, and it's like a Christmas movie, but it's like a beautiful movie if you haven't seen it. Like, even if you're like, oh, I hate Christmas movies, like it is a classic. And yeah, I think too, Hollywood then, like back in the day, it would have been so cool to be a part of that. What's funny is my dad, he's in the industry, but his dad was in the industry and his dad's dad was in the industry.
Oh my God.
Like, yeah. So since Hollywood like became a thing, it's been the family business. So it always kind of felt like I was like, oh, I want to have, like, my brothers and I, we've all kind of done something in the business. But I just think it would have been cool to be in early Hollywood when we didn't have like all the special effects. It was very much like the acting and the sets and like the Wizard of Oz. Like, so I guess, yeah, those would be my two movies.
Oh my God. Yeah, that would have been wicked. Yeah. I actually just watched It's a Wonderful Life for the first time last year.
Yeah, I think I did too, with my dad.
Yeah.
He was like, you've never seen this? And I was like, no. He's like, you have to watch it. It's a classic. And it's funny too, because there's like a spiritual element in it as well. But I was like crying. And I was like, this is one of my favorite movies ever now.
Dude, yeah, it is not what I expected at all.
Same.
I was like, oh, this is just going to be like a super, family friendly, cheesy kind of like touch your heart movie, Christmas movie. Hell no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Like it was, it has some killer moments in it that's just like, oh my God, this poor dude.
Right? No, it's a journey. And I think that is kind of a hero's journey movie too. And like realizing what you have and not taking things for granted. And yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there you go, Dragon Blues. It goes super dark and deep. Yeah.
Yes, totally.
Oh my God. Yeah, so Trav Zimmerman wants to know if you have any upcoming projects.
At the moment, I don't. However, Robbie, so filming Outwaters, we got some extra footage of just kind of like a backstory on the characters, a lot on Robbie, but it's Card Zero. And so the other file, it's like File something, and I should know the name of it, but those are going to be premiering at the Balboa Theater in San Francisco at the end of March. And then I don't know if they're going to be streaming, but that's like kind of the next project. It is related to Outwaters. But as of now, this has been taking up so much of like my life, and it's been really exciting because it happened organically. But like I said, I am diving back into acting, so I'll keep you guys posted. And I'm on social media, and if you guys are interested, you can follow me there and kind of follow along on what I'm doing.
Yeah, wicked. Yeah, I saw that. I think it was like File VL 752, something like that,
Something like that.
Yeah, it's totally like a file name. That's why you can't remember it. But
it's another found piece of the footage, so you guys will have to check it out.
Yeah. Daughter of Death wants to know, what's some of your other favorite horror movies or books when you were growing up?
Oh, so great question. I loved horror books when I was a kid. So Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yes!
I don't know if you guys... Dude, those, I remember my little brother and I, we would go to the library and we would be so excited to check out those books. I would get them every single time. And the drawings, like I would like try to draw all the spooky imagery.
Yes.
All of the stories, like, and it's funny because reading those gives me a reaction. Like they felt so real. And I know that they made a movie out of those books, which I haven't seen yet. I want to see it. But I loved those. I loved Goosebumps. Like I really loved scary stuff like when I was a kid. So I think that's why this is a full circle moment, is like the project that blew up for me the most was a horror film. And then horror movies, White Noise, which some people bash it, but I really liked it. It's with Michael Keaton. And it was just like really intense. It talks, not telepathy, but his like dead wife is trying to communicate with him through like sounds and the radio. And it was like, I just remembered watching it and being scared, but it was like cool at the same time. Trying to think of some other horror movies that I like. I do like zombie movies, but sometimes they can feel a little bit real because they always say like what to do when humans face an inevitable apocalypse and 100 tips like zombie apocalypse for dummies. So like I Am Legend, which isn't necessarily like, I guess it could be a genre of horror, but that movie, it's like you have the slow zombies and then you have the fast killer zombies. Like I Am Legend, it was like very scary. Really enjoyed it. And then I'm trying to think. There's one more movie that Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which like I know it's a classic, but as far as like gore and like bloody and just like running for your life screaming, like I thought that was just it's a classic, So yeah, those are some of my favorites.
Badass, yeah.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite, if you remember, not to put you on the spot here, but what was
Put me on the spot.
what was your favorite scary stories to tell in the dark story?
Oh, man. Oh, my God. Okay, so I think there's so many. 2, the guy who doesn't know that he's a ghost, that he's dead. Mm-hmm. And it's so crazy. I want to like go rent those books now and read them again because it's so good. But he like basically wakes up and he's like trying to talk to his friends and he's like walking down the street and he's like, no one notices me. What's going on? Like doesn't know that he's dead. And he I think he walks past a church or he goes into church. But the drawing for that specific story is very ominous. It's like a dark church. And I remember drawing that out, like sketching it as a kid. And then my second favorite one is the one where the girl gets bit by the spider and it's like on her face.
Yeah.
And then the drawing for that one's really cool too. It like explodes and like all these tiny spiders. I don't have a phobia of spiders or bugs. But it's like, most people are like, oh my God, like I couldn't imagine. And those 2, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Good choices. Good choices. Yeah, so Chad Edmonds, he is a haunted house kind of dude. He wants to know if you would ever work in one and professionally just scare people every night.
Like a real haunted house or like horror nights at like
yeah, like horror nights or something like that.
That's funny because CJ actually did that at Magic Mountain. He was the Mad Hatter.
What?
And they gave him, yeah, dude, I'll have to find photos and send it to you because he had like the crazy prosthetics. His face was green. He had like a top hat. My brother's like 6'3", so he's this big, lanky, scary dude, like running out and scaring people.
Yes.
I would do it. I think it would be fun. Like I like to scare my family, like when I see them, if, just hide behind a door. And I grew up with brothers, so they would torture me and scare me. So I was always trying to get them back. But yeah, I would totally do that. Like, sign me up.
Oh my God. Yeah, it is so fun. I have a friend who runs a haunted house, like the biggest one in West Virginia. Yeah. And she sets up a camera and in hot areas where like people get really scared and she'll post the videos on TikTok. I could just sit there and watch them all day. Like people just busting ass. Like,
My favorite reality show was Scare Tactics. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
So good. And the guy from Stranger Things, he kind of does a similar show now, but my dad and I like binged watch Scare Tactics. Like it's so funny just for the people, that don't believe stuff. They're like, they're not afraid of ghosts and all the different kind of like storylines that they have. I love that. I think it's so great.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. I wish I could. They used to have another one too. It was on MTV. It was called Fear.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And they had like the snorri cam that they would put on people. So it just stared at their face the whole time as they're like walking through these scary ass places.
So great.
Damn.
I gotta check that out. I gotta rewatch all those.
Hell yeah. I need to find where I can binge Scare Tactics though. That was so legit.
Yeah, I think this was like, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. We were watching it, I thought on YouTube or something. Like they had all the episodes and it's so funny. Like it's a great show.
Damn, hell yeah. Dude, there's no way I'd be friends with some of those people who like got set up.
Oh yeah,
like, dude,
yeah. They're like, this is my best friend in the whole world, and they did this to me.
Like what? Oh hell no, man. All right, man. Hey, our hour is up. That's it for everybody.
Flown.
Yeah. We're out of here, man. So yeah, I'd like to thank you for coming on. It has been seriously a blast.
Same. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, because I just wanted to talk to you about the movie, but then you're so damn relatable and everything. It's like we could just get on here and talk horror for funsies the whole time.
Yeah,
so.
No, totally. I'm gonna really try to step up my horror game, and that way I can be more relatable to the fans. But you guys are really cool. I loved all the questions and comments.
Yeah, and we'll get you back on. You still have those shorts coming up. And
yes, yeah.
Who knows what else fate has in store for you? We'll just have to wait and see. But
yep.
Heck yeah! All right, thank you for being on, Michelle.
Thanks, Steven.
Yeah, you're very welcome. We threw out her Instagram link for all of you who want to give her a follow, Rooski. And thank you all for tuning in. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day, Steven.
Oh, yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.